Alright everybody, this is the start of update number 13 on the Mobius 128 scale Seaview. I just posted up a video yesterday on my YouTube channel. If I'm right with the date, that was June 21st, the first day of summer. This is Saturday, June 22nd at 4:30 in the afternoon. Been working around the house and finally down in my shop. Gonna work the rest of the evening down here and working on the Seaview. I'm gonna go ahead and probably try to hold this up here. I'm gonna go ahead and start working on maybe getting this together. In the front, I got the bottom lower lights to glue in place. I had the front nose one already glued in place. I showed that on the video I just posted up on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to focus on getting those bottom lights glued in place. It shouldn't take too long. I'll be using 5-minute epoxy, and I'll let that sit and cure for a little while, and then I'll probably get ready to start to install the bay where the flying sub goes up into, and then maybe the interior. But that's my goal for today, to start working on this, get at least the front end of the sub done. I've got the cunning tower done, other than I gotta look at it and see if it needs some light sanding, and then I'll hit it with its final coat of primer, and then I can put that to the side before I mount it up here on top of the Seaview, and then I can focus more on the rear of the sub. It's looking good, turning out alright. I'm taking my time with it. Like I've said in all my videos, I don't rush myself. I work a job like everybody else, and that takes first with my priorities, and then my hobby after that. So let me stop rambling on. I'll pause the camera and get started on the lower section of the sub, which I'll show that part again, what I'm going to do to finish that part off and take it from there. So I'll pause for now, and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, another update. I just glued this light in place, and this one here with the 5-minute epoxy. I'm going to let this set for probably about a half an hour. I think it takes, I'm not sure, I'm just guessing, 12 to 24 hours for it to actually cure. But even though it says 5-minute epoxy, I'd have to look at the label in the back. Let me see. Okay, it's 1 hour. It only takes 1 hour for this to fully bond. That's pretty good, so that's great. But in a half an hour from now, I'm going to take the tape off here on both of them, and then I'll touch up around the point to it. I'll go around it with some more 5-minute epoxy, just make sure, and then I'll probably go over it with this tape that I showed in the previous video. I'll cut the right diameter and just put this tape over it, and then plug it into some power and see if it's throwing out any light. If it is, then I can go over that with probably tulip. But for now, this is what I've done so far. Those two are mounted and they're drying with the 5-minute epoxy, and once that's done and out of the way, I can move on to the next step, maybe putting in the bay for the flying sub. So one step at a time here. At least that's finished. Did that yesterday, and then I'm mounting these two today. So I'll go ahead and pause, let these dry for about a half an hour, finish them up, and then move on from there. So I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, another update. Lights that I installed today. The SMDs, I glued those down today. This one here and the one over there, and then with 5-minute epoxy, and I let it dry for probably a good hour. Then I put that reflecting tape over it, and then now you can see very little bit of a light leak, which I'll cover that up with some tulip. This side here is not bad at all, but the other side of the sub, like I showed in my other video I posted, I see no light leaks coming through though, but I gotta cover that up on the inside here so there's no reflection or anything going up into the control room. You never know, so I'm just gonna go ahead and hit those two with some tulip, and I'll hit the front there with some tulip too, because you can see here I got it taped off, but you can still see light coming through, hitting the inside bottom part of the sub right there. So I'll go ahead and hit those areas with the tulip, but everything's coming along. I think my next step is I may put down the wire, get it out of the way with my glue gun, get that done, and then I'll probably put the bay in next. So I figured I'd give everybody a quick update. I'll do those steps next, and then I'll get the bay in, and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, another update on the Seaview. I just glued in the bay for the flying sub. I used your old testers glue certain parts on models when I build them. Not always go to me extra thin, and then I also have the thicker and the red cap. I always seem to come back to this, and I got plenty of this in stock, and glued it in place, and I did use a little of the extra thin. I'm letting that dry now. Everything's looking good, as you can see here. Other side, I'll have to clean up all that wire. I had to loosen this up though in the back here, where I'm going to have the bay lit up. Get the wires and stuff out of the way. And I just have to re-glue it down with some heat glue. I just plugged that in and let it warm up. It's going to take 5 minutes or so for my gun to warm up and get that glue started to melt, and then I can go ahead and readjust this and glue it back down in place. And then I'll go ahead and get the wire and get that all down. You can see I started here last night and run it all. I got to make sure I got plenty of clearance right here, so this mounts to the top of the sub. So I went ahead and just glued it down. Same for over here, and see where I stopped. And then once that's all cleaned up, the wire will be all running to the rear of the sub. So I'll give this a little more time to dry. Once everything looks good, I'll probably plug it into some power and put it back in the sub, see what she looks like. Once that's all done, I'll probably work on putting the control room up here, because that's where it goes. But I have these magnets. They're real small and they're very powerful. I don't know if they're earth magnets or not, but they're pretty strong. I'm thinking about putting one up here and then one in the flying sub to magnetically hold it in place. I like to try to get the flying sub lit up, but I'm not going to worry about it since I've got two kits. The same kit here of the Seaview. I've got two flying subs, so we'll see about what I can do about lighting it, lighting the flying sub up. I don't have the interior. I couldn't think of it for a second there. I don't have the interior for the flying sub. I know it's available. I can pick it up. But if I just go with what came with it, it comes with the two seats, and you can put two little the Admiral and crane into the flying sub. But that's about all you get. You don't get no interior, and then maybe I could just light it up. I don't know. I'm rambling on here about the flying sub, but I'll figure out when I get around to that. Right now, back to this. I'm going to give it a little bit more time to dry. It don't take that long for this to really cure. Like again, I probably have to look at the label because I forget. But it's been drying for a good half an hour. And then in this area right up here, I had to use a little bit of the extra thin to hold that in place. But look, it's looking good. So let me go ahead and pause, finish this all up, and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, another update on the lower section of the sub. I've got the bay in place, glued, and I light blocked with some tulip right here, black tulip, just around the perimeter because I got it taped off on top. I hit this with tulip, and the same with the other side there. Got it hooked up to some power. I'm going to turn it on. It's set at 9 volts. Turn the overhead light off, and there you have it. Looks pretty cool. There's the lights with the bay in red, and then the lower floodlights, and then the light up front. Looks pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and bump it up to 12 because the bay does get brighter with that LED strip of red that I have in the bay. A little over 12, it's close enough. You can see 12, and that bay really lights up. Looks really cool. The next step is to put the control panel, control room on top here. It sets right up on here, and I'll probably use some Tester's glue for that. That's what I use for the bay, and a little Tamiya extra thin, but that looks pretty cool. And then got the flying sub right here, and it's just primered, missing the back piece in the front here, you can see, but I got these tiny little magnets, got them right here. I'm thinking about putting a magnet here first before I put the control room, and then mount one on the top part here, the flying sub, and then I can at least, if this one's not going to be lit up, at least I can take it in and out of the bay with this magnet, using these magnets. And that's what I might do before I go ahead and mount the control room, but get everybody another look. Really looking cool. And that's at 12 volts or 11.9, close enough. And I'm going to be able to run this either off at 12 or at 9. That's back at 9. You can see the lights in the bay. They're not as bright, but they're still doing a good job. And I got the control room out, sitting on the side here. It mounts up here like so, and you can see all the wires and everything for that. It looks like a nightmare right now with all these wires, and I'm just going to sit it there. It's got 4 guide pins, you can see right here, to mount this on. So I think I'm going to hold off doing that just yet until I maybe put that magnet in, and then I'll be able to put the flying sub into the bay. So that's the only thing that's going to slow me down for right now. Let me go ahead and move this out of the way. Give everybody another look at the bottom here. I see no light leaks. Everything's looking good. Same for the front. Oh, lost some power here. Let's see what happened. Oh well. I don't think I can get that back on. Alright, I don't know how long that's going to work, but give everybody another look. It's looking cool, so I'm going to go ahead and pause for now, continue working on the Seaview, and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, another update. I glued the magnet here, and I applied around the diameter of the 5-minute epoxy, and I cut this little disc out, and I'm going to hit the top here with the 5-minute epoxy. Then this will just go overhead here, give it a little bit more, make it more secure, and then the top here is where the control room goes. And I already tried it to make sure everything fits. I have this cool little tool right here. I've had it for a long time, and I just kind of eyed it in here, and then I cut the diameter out. Worked out fine. So on the other side, I got the magnet where the flying sub will go up into that and attach with the magnet here glued in. So I'm gonna let this cure a little bit longer, and then I'll start on my next step, probably getting this wire cleaned up and gluing some more down, getting some of this out of the way for the top where the control room sets up on. So let me stop rambling. I'll pause for now, continue working on this, and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, another update on the Seaview. The front is finished. Over my weekend off, I mounted the lower floodlights. You can see right here. Then I covered it with tulip. Same with the opposite side. Then I did the front nose light. And then I glued on the bay for the flying sub. You can see right here. And then my final assembly was the control room on top of everything. And do have it hooked up to some power. Now this is all my positive wire, and then this is all my negative, and I got everything all positive together, all the negative together from all the lighting up front here, from the lower floodlights to the front to the bay for the flying sub and the control room. And when I get ready to mount that into the sub, I'll have to get ready, before I do that, put the conning tower on top, because the conning tower is going to have to run into these two positive and negative leads here to light up. And then all I got to do is work on the rear of the sub, which is the rear fin lights, one on each side of the rear of the sub, and that's it for the lighting back there. So technically that's all I have to do now, is light up and assemble the rear of the sub once this is mounted on the front of the sub. I also primered up the flying sub. I got a magnet right here on the inside of the sub to magnetically hold it to the bay, which I don't know if I can pull this off. I'll have to probably show it in another video or when I got it up in place, but it seems like the magnet's just not strong enough. I was afraid of that, so I may have to pull that one out and get I know online I can get those earth magnets, and they're real powerful, so I could probably pop this off and put one here, and should work with the magnet I got on the inside. On the bottom, on the inside here, I got a magnet so they can connect. It works, but it doesn't stay up very long. It falls off, which I was afraid of that. And you can see right in there where I got the magnet on top there, and I thought it would work. I got it glued in with 5-minute epoxy. Don't care too much about the inside and what it looks like, because I just don't have the interior for that. So let me stop mumbling. Let me go ahead and turn the power on. I got it set at 9 volts. I'll turn the overhead light off. I'll move the flying sub for now. You can see everything's working fine, so it looks pretty cool on the inside of the control room. Up front you can see that monitor lit, and then the one in the center there, and it does, I do have a decal on it. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, and that looks pretty cool. And then I got the blue on this side, and then the blinking ones over here. And then you can see the front nose is lit up, looking pretty cool. And then I'll see if I can flip her up, and then there's a good view of the inside of the bay. You can see the lights there. It's a LED strip, red, and then you can see the lower floodlights. Looks pretty cool. Maybe I can turn this around so we can see without me losing power. You can see the opposite side of the control room, which has got the computer. You can see the computer there, and I got this one, I pointed out this one here blinking, and then right above where they navigate the ship, it's blinking right above where they sit. And then I got that one over there on that one final wall by the computer's tape drive system. I got lights blinking there, which you're not going to really see too good maybe on an angle once this is all installed into the sub. I've got some little light leaks in the where the lighting is on the back side of the control room, and I'll probably hit that today with some tulip to cover that up. I don't really think it's going to show that much once the sub's all together. And then I got a few over here on this side. You can see I got to cover up with some tulip. I know it don't look all that good with all the wiring I got going on here with it, but once it's all together, that's all going to be covered up. You won't see it, and I think it just looks pretty awesome. So I'm slowly getting there. It's looking really cool. Everything's still working fine. I just like the underneath. That looks really cool. Let's see. Let's turn this around one more time. Get a look at this side. So I'm going to go ahead and pause for now. Today I'll probably see what I can do with the flying sub. I wish I could show that on camera here, but that would be too tricky to do. I don't want to break nothing. I'm trying to put this up in a weird spot, like, you know, hold it up like this to put it in place, but I think I'm asking too much. But I wanted to give everybody the front view of the sub, what it's looking like. Everything's looking cool, everything's working. So I'll go ahead and put this to the side. For now, I want to double check the conning tower before I install that. But it's taken me a long time just to get to this step with the front of the sub. Everything's together now. All I gotta do is mount it into the sub, which is right here. You can see right here is the sub. It's just sitting in my spray booth. And all I gotta do is mount that into the sub. Before I can do that, I'll have to put the windows in, but they'll have to be masked. I think I'll just temporarily maybe put it in the sub so everybody can get a look at it, and then maybe I can show how that flying sub goes up. So I may do that here soon and put it on this video, but we'll get back to this. Figure I'd give everybody another show at what she looks like on the inside of this sub. The control room's looking really cool. So I'll pause for now and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, back on the sub. I couldn't resist. I kept my fingers crossed to see everything would fit in with everything I've got going on with the control room and the lighting and everything coming out the back side of each control panel. And just with a little bit of tape, she holds in place. So that's probably about how I'm going to have to glue it. Maybe I'll try to tack it off first before I put it in. I have it hooked up to some power and it's at 9 volts. So let's take a look at the sub, see what she looks like. Here's the bottom. You can see the lower floodlights. You can see the bay lit up. And then you can also see the nose. And that looks really cool. On the inside, since I don't have the windows in yet, you should get a pretty good view of what's going on in there. There you can see some lights blinking there on the control room panel, and the monitor in the back, the other lighting, and the floor still has that cool looking shine to it. On this side here you can see that front monitor lit. Very cool. And over here on this side, I can get in there, you can see that side lit up. You can see a little bit of the computer in the background. Very cool. Let me see, get this backlight turned off. That might help a little bit. There's a top view. Just go down slowly. You can see almost both sides of the control rooms lit up. Both sides of the control panels lit up on the control room floor. I'll spit it out right, I guess. The underneath, I really think is cool. That really looks awesome. So since everything's fitting good, then I won't have no problem gluing her together. I'll probably have to use Tamiya extra thin. I should do the job. But before I can do that, I have to put the windows in. And I have to put the conning tower on top. I got this sitting on an angle because the way I got it sitting up on this is full of paint. I think Tamiya and Model Masters and all that good stuff, I think, is paint that's in here. But I'm using that to at least get it up off my workbench. But I figured I'd show this to everybody, how she's looking. She's turning out pretty cool. Another look on the inside. I think I'm going to go ahead, call this a wrap for update number 13. But it's looking really cool. So, alright everybody, back on the Seaview. My battery just died again on my recorder. I've had my camcorder probably about 4 or 5 years now, and the battery seems to be going. So I got it on charge right now. But I figured I'd give everybody another look
I'll call this a wrap again for update number 13. I'd like to thank all my YouTube subscribers. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. More to come on the sub. I'll start assembling the front here, getting it done and out of the way, and start focusing on the rear of the sub. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and I'll talk with everybody later.